All right, thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. I'm Mike, as always. With me, I've got my two knuckle-headed co-hosts, Double D. What's up, Double D?
Oh, hey, I'm back.
Woo!
You're back.
Yeah.
And I've got Alex.
Here.
What's up, Alex?
Hey, I'm still here.
AKA Alice.
Oh no.
It's back, baby.
It'll never get old.
God damn it.
Okay. Anyway, we're here to talk about a pretty great franchise. Oh, it's had its ups and downs, just like this podcast.
Franchise, I don't know what you're talking about. There's only 2 movies.
What?
There's no animated series or anything.
Oof.
No, there's not. But anyway, we're going to be doing something a little bit different because this isn't a true remake or a true reboot, and it's also not like what we did with Mad Max, where it's kind of like a soft reboot. This is what they basically did with Halloween last year, where they just said, hey, half these movies don't count anymore, and we've got a new timeline. So basically, this is a reboot of Terminator 3. It's the new third movie in the franchise. So we're talking about Terminator,
3.
specifically Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, and Terminator Dark Fate. Obviously, we just watched the Dark Fate because it just came out, but I assume prior to this, you guys have seen Terminator 3.
Oh, definitely.
Unfortunately.
How do you guys feel about the Terminator franchise overall?
I love Terminator. Anything Arnold, honestly, I love. But Terminator was a big part of my growing up, But I've always enjoyed it.
Oh, me too. I love the first and the second one. The second one is iconic. It is still, to this day, one of the greatest action movies of all time. Greatest special effects. James Cameron can basically do no wrong in my book. I give him the benefit of the doubt and everything. He has not done a movie that I don't like. So it's kind of weird. And one of the movies we just watched is not a James Cameron movie. Like, this was his baby, but he lost the rights to it.
He sold the rights.
He sold the rights to it and then just got them back with Dark Fate, but he didn't direct. He had Tim Miller, who did the first Deadpool, direct. So this series has definitely had its ups and downs. I'm sure we'll talk about some of the stuff as it comes up. We'll bring up some of the other movies, but I guess we didn't talk to Alex. Alex, how do you feel about the Terminator series?
Oh, I thank you for asking. This this movie, I gotta say, has played a huge part in my life. It's what got me to at least it did want me to become a filmmaker because of it. Because I remember flipping through an encyclopedia and I saw oh shit, what people made this movie? I watched this movie back to back always as a kid, and my dad was worried because he's oh, he's gonna stab his eye out from the first
It's
movie.
gonna be a Terminator.
I came up with an idea for a third Terminator film that I wanted to make when I became a filmmaker and stuff I love this first 2 movies. It's amazing. Holds a deer. When I'm sick, I watch this movie to make me feel better.
Yeah,
Does
T2
it work?
T2's
Does
great.
it work? Do you feel better?
Wait, what?
Does it work? Do you feel better?
Oh, dude,
Is it
immensely.
Is it a healing movie?
It's better than chicken noodle soup.
His ringtone is also Terminator.
Oh, is
It is,
Ba-dum-dum-dum. Is it that?
Yeah.
Good. I'm ready to talk about it. Who's going to lead the way with the synopsis?
We're doing the first. Well, let's let Alex do the original.
Okay, so I got Terminator 3. A cybernetic warrior from a post-apocalyptic future travels back in time to protect a 25-year-old drifter. I don't know why that was funny to me. And his future wife from a most advanced robotic assassin, and to ensure they both survive a nuclear attack. It's from
Nice.
Daniel Williamson.
So originally, so it has Clara Danes as the female lead / love interest. The guy who plays John Connor, I've never
Nick
seen
Stahl.
him in anything else.
Carnival.
Nick Stahl.
I only
Yeah,
watched
Nick
Carnival
Stahl,
because he was in this fucking movie. And Carnival is
Oh,
great.
really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in anything else. Originally, Clara Danes' character Kate was going to be played by Sophia Bush, and they did one day of filming and decided that she was too young looking for Nick Stahl, and then they scrapped her and then brought in Clara Danes. And apparently, because they were already shooting, she was saying Clara Danes actually said she kind of preferred that because she was kind of learning the character and in over her head like her character was. So good for her.
I guess.
But this movie had a crazy production. So Arnold did not want to do this movie.
What?
Yeah, so he did not want to do this movie initially because he didn't want to do a Terminator film without James Cameron, because James Cameron and him are very good friends.
That makes sense.
And he held off doing it for years. And then he was having lunch with James Cameron. James Cameron said, like, just do it and ask for a shitload of money. And he said that the character was just as much Schwarzenegger as it was his. And he said, take the money and run. So that's what Arnold did. And so he asked for a $29 million fee for reprising the role. And then his contract, he had a 33-page contract for all of his perk package. So it was written as a pay-for-play. So whether or not the movie got made, he was going to get $30 million. He got a $1.5 million sum for his private jets, a fully equipped gym trailer that went with him everywhere. He had 3-bedroom suites on location, around-the-clock limousine, a personal bodyguard. He also got a personal chef and 20% of gross receipts made after the movie actually broke even, and that includes movies, videos, DVD, licensing from TVs, in-flight entertainment, everything. So yeah, he got one of the most ridiculous pay packages for a movie ever, which ended up making this the most expensive independently produced film of all time at the time. Yeah, good for him.
Good job, Arnold.
So he got all that, and then
that's nuts.
Yeah, it's insane. And so this movie had like a $183 million budget, and a huge portion of it went directly to Arnold. But that being said, there was a scene that they were going to scrap, that scene with a chase where he's on like a crane and he gets pushed through a glass building.
Yeah.
That was going to get cut because they couldn't afford it and they were going to go over budget. And so he actually paid for that out of his own pocket, like $1.8 million to make that scene.
Well, he made enough money.
Yeah, right? He could afford it. So what did you guys think of T3 overall?
It was different watching it now than when I watched it when it came out. I feel like I enjoyed it much more when it came out, and watching it this time was difficult.
I thought I feel exactly the same way. I thought this was a PG-13 movie. It wasn't. It was rated R.
No, this was a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, this was rated R.
Yep, rated R.
It's a rated R film.
Minutes.
Which actually, it was funny. I got in an argument with somebody talking about Dark Fate, and I was like, and we'll get into it, but basically I argued because Dark Fate financially is not doing well. I was like, it should have just been a PG-13 movie. It wouldn't be the first one, but it turns out Genesis was PG-13.
Salvation was PG-13.
Was Salvation 13?
Yeah, PG-13.
Okay, but I thought this one was PG-13 as well, and it wasn't. It's a weird movie. What about you, Alex? Did you like this movie?
When I first saw it, this is so I'm gonna get so much hate, but this is like what I'm assuming what prequels was like when it first came out for Star Wars fans. Like you guys were like super excited and like, oh my god, a new Star Wars. This is it for me, unfortunately. Like a Terminator 3, I was like, oh my god, I only knew 2 movies. I'm excited for this third one. I started tearing up when I heard the theme song in a little bit in the beginning when I first saw this. And then I grew to hate it. I just hate it because I'm like, that's right. He's not a T101. Why did they say that? I was like, I'll just point it out, like,
because he's a slightly upgraded model.
No, he's a model 101. So that's the model that looks like Arnold. I don't. I didn't like this movie. Even now, I couldn't. I had it on the background. I ended up still not watching it.
It was a rough watch.
A rough watch.
It's the problem with this one is, once again, it's a different producer, different writer, different director. But like this one tried to be funny, and the humor just was really bad. So like,
yeah, it was cheesy.
Right at the beginning, you have the female Terminator, which I want to spend some time talking about the different versions of the Terminators. But she gets pulled over by a police officer and then like inflates her boobs to look bigger. And it's just like, that's kind of dumb. And then there's a point where Arnold is getting his clothes and he crashes outside of a bar like in T2, and you're like, okay, it's gonna be like the same kind of thing, but it's actually like a female
ladies'
strip club.
Yeah.
Ladies' night. So there's like a very obviously gay man stripping, and he's just like, well, it's your turn to wait, bitch, or something like that.
Yeah.
Talk to the hand. And he ends up like beating up a stripper to take his clothing.
He grabs his hand and he's like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he breaks the hand, puts on the outfit, and then he walks out and he goes to put on sunglasses, and they're like pink sunglasses.
Stars, yeah.
And then he takes them off, and it's like,
Steps
that's the humor in this movie. And then also like, just he did the I'll be back, she'll be back. Everything, it was just like there were so many, like there was like 3 different variations of "I'll be back," "She'll be back," and "They'll be back."
We'll all be back.
It tried so hard to be funny, and it just wasn't.
It was awkward.
Like, yeah,
I did find one part really funny when the new Terminator basically dialed into the internet and
She's like,
the car phone.
making the dial
Had the
tones.
dial
Well,
tone.
and apparently they were gonna do more stuff with that, but same thing, like budget
Refer to
and everything kind of
dial
ran out. But they were gonna have a thing where like Clara Dane's cell phone didn't work, and that you do see little bits of it where like the TV doesn't work, and they were saying, oh, Skynet was already like involved, but they kind of cut that storyline because budget reasons. But
I guess. I mean, I there are some aspects I do like about this movie. I like that she was sent back to kind of help, like, jumpstart the Skynet revolution, kind of thing. But it just
I don't think she was, though. I think she was there just to stop.
she's there killing
Commanders.
the officers, and then she's like injecting her stupid finger into things to. Ugh.
But that was more to help her with her goal, not
What did
to.
they call that? It was a transjector or something.
Something
Nano
like that.
Injector.
And that's actually a thing that I hate. Like with this movie, you see it actually in the new movie as well, and you
Yeah.
see it in like the first Transformers movie, where like you have these robots that just like stick things in. And there's another movie that does this too, where there's just like a spike, and it's like
RoboCop. You mean the
we
best
have
movie?
very specific interfaces for computers. Like USB is a standard, or and everything. It's not just
I mean,
like
I think it would be
spikes, and you
weird
see
if
this-
a USB came out of her finger to inject it.
Right, but
I
at
mean,
least
if she
if
can,
it's
you know,
she's
ma-
liquid
it's
metal,
very
like at
malleable.
least if she filmed it, like you see her do the spike and then look at the computer and go, "Oh, I can't interface with this," and then uses the liquid
I think
metal
the
to
new one
change into it.
kind of does it a little better.
And that was the thing, like, and I don't understand what the advantage with her with the liquid metal and the over the regular frame is.
Her
Like,
shapeshifting. It makes her more of a better infiltrator.
okay, I guess, but still, like, why not just be a liquid version? Why does she need to have the metal version frame
I
underneath?
think it's
Like,
supposed to be for the stupid reason of the weapons, unfortunately.
right, the plasma weapon that breaks right away.
Right away. And then she has a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's dumb. They're like, she's an anti-Terminator. Like, why does the Skynet need to have that? And I guess, you know, every once in a while, the human resistance gets a regular Terminator to, you know, the Arnold Terminators, because apparently there have been 2 different Arnold Terminators that they've been able to capture and use. But it seems weird. I don't know. It just seems like they were like, what's the next step? We've done a metal Terminator and a liquid Terminator. What if we did both?
A liquid metal Terminator.
The other thing that was just weird about this movie was actually another humor thing. Like when he's at the gas station, he tells the gas station attendant to like talk to the hand as he's stealing food, and then it walks out and it's like, funky man, that funky man, as he was walking out. Like, it's just, that's the level of shit that we were getting in this movie. And then it had to have like this really weird romance subplot in the movie that was awful.
Yeah.
They didn't have any chemistry going on.
They had no chemistry, but also like she was engaged. Like
he
the
died.
first time we see her,
Well,
she's
yeah.
doing the wedding registry,
I don't want to.
and like he dies, and all of a sudden she's like, "You're the first boy I ever kissed."
I don't want to defend
Like,
this movie, but she did talk to her dad, and she's like, because she's like, I trust your choice of whatever, and she like has a moment of doubt that she's marrying him.
and it's fine to have a moment of doubt. Like, I'm cool with that, but to just like, your fiance just died, like you could mourn a little bit. Like, you're gonna get stuck in a bunker with this guy. Maybe bang him later, but don't be like, "Hey, you're the first guy I ever kissed." And like, it just seemed like from the beginning she was like she recognized him immediately. She knew exactly who he was,
It's
even though
amazing.
she hadn't seen him for like, you
He
know,
doesn't look
15
anything
years.
like Edward Furlong.
No. Well, they wanted Edward Furlong, but he was in rehab,
That would have been perfect.
right?
Rehab
but
Edward would have been perfect.
yeah, this whole plot of this movie just
I don't like. There are aspects I kind of thought would be interesting, like having a John Connor that never got to experience Judgment Day, where he fulfills that destiny. That's interesting, but they just made him really mopey, and that's not a character you want to follow in a story where you just.
Well, and that's the thing, and they do that slightly better in Dark Fate with Sarah Connor, but in this version, it's like he's kind of like whiny, like you said, where he's just like, imagine that you find out that you're gonna do something amazing, but if you let it happen, like it's the worst thing. It's like he's considered letting Judgment Day happen before, almost like that's
just so he could fulfill his destiny,
right? And then you have. Well, I guess we should we haven't really said anything positive about the movie. What are some things you guys did like about the movie?
Arnold.
He got his exact measurements from T2 back.
Really?
Yeah, he
That's
had the exact
impressive.
same measurements. Now the difference is obviously he's 55 in this movie. So like even though he had like a six pack, he kind of had like the saggy skin around it.
His
Oh yeah, he
body
got his
fat
actual
percentage wasn't
exact.
quite there.
The BMI was the same, and the measurements were the same.
So
that's pretty cool.
I like, to be honest, I actually like the ending, how dark it was.
I don't mind the ending. I do like how they kind of had like proto Terminators,
I don't. Well,
which kind of makes sense that Skynet would have some basic designs like the little flying drones and then like the giant.
I did like the
tank-like-
drones. I didn't like the tank things.
I mean, but it makes sense as a logical first step into like a robot that designed for war, and then obviously it gets streamlined. So I kind of like that. It was already kind of there. But you know what I hated most about this movie? And it's one of those things, it's just bad writing. Like one of the things you don't do as a writer is say something and then immediately say the exact opposite. So like the beginning of the movie opens with the future has not been written. There is no fate but what we make for ourselves. I wish I could believe that. And then goes into telling like the story of Terminator. And it's just like, I hate when movies do that, when they tell you one thing and they're like, but that's not how this is. Like, it just seems cheap and lazy.
well, not even that.
And then like
the first two movies are about there is no fate but what you make for yourself, and then
right.
the end of this movie, he's like, well, I guess there is he's like, there is a fate.
Well, at the very beginning of the movie, he's basically saying that, but it's also throughout the whole movie, he's acting like, oh, I've prevented it. And then he's trying to say the thing, like the opening of the movie, he's saying, I wish that was true. So he's basically saying there is a fate. But then the whole movie tells Clara Dane's character, we could stop this. We could stop this. There is no fate but what you make it, kind of thing. And then at the end, like you said, it's just like, yep, no, that fate, we could only postpone it. Yep, I was always going to do this. And then his old John Connor makeup's awful.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
I don't.
So what did you like, Mike?
I said I liked the Proto Terminators.
Yeah. What about the movie, though? I mean, like, besides character. I mean, I guess those aren't characters, but
I did like actually was when they go to the cemetery and they like break into Sarah Connor's grave and he's like
Those are
freaking
cool.
out and there's guns. And then at that scene there's the doctor from Terminator 2 who was like taking care of Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he has like a moment with Claire Danes and he's like a grief counselor now. I did like how he's just like walking through and then the doctor sees Arnold and he's just like,
just
books
it.
Yeah, that was I did like that. What else? God, there was something else that I didn't like immediately after like the chase afterwards when they like drive the hearse through the
crane
truck.
sequence. I'll give it that. That was like the only good action sequence I felt in the whole movie.
It was okay, but it was literally just a guy hanging off a crane the whole time.
But it really displays the physicality of a Terminator.
The strength of a Terminator.
Really well.
that was really the only scene I remembered from watching it in theaters.
So honestly, the CG at the beginning really wasn't bad with like the Terminator army.
Yeah.
Like wasn't bad, but like in the bathroom, like that bathroom fight,
Yeah, with Arnold and his head
that was
coming
terrible.
off.
it was awful. Like the CG just looked terrible as they were just like, they looked like rubber dolls just flopping around in the bathroom. And then she like grabbed him by the groin and then like
He does like a head,
moved him like a
head
bowling
tilt.
ball kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it was really weird.
Like a battering ram. It's this movie. Oh my god.
I can see why after this movie they decided to like reboot the franchise and do like a, during the actual Terminator War with Christian Bale.
That would be like the next. Well, it kind of is in continuity with
It is. Originally, they apparently wanted to get Nick Stahl back, and it just didn't work out timing wise.
Good.
And if they did get him back, we wouldn't have got that epic rant from Christian Bale with the lights.
Yeah.
Good for you. We're done professionally. That's such a good rant.
Oh, good for you.
I might put a little bit of the rant in here when I edit it in. But
how
yeah, that's a great rant.
how would you? I know we're not doing Genesis, but how would you guys compare? Like, because I feel like that was like a reboot of like, yeah.
It was. So they were gonna do a whole new trilogy based off of that, but it was still supposed to be in the T1, T2 continuity.
I feel like it does T1 and then it remakes T2 because like it just takes the
to an
snippet
extent.
of it.
Because it was supposed to be, she's supposed to be the same Sarah Connor, and she's supposed to be like, oh, they went back even further again, but it's supposed to be the same timeline, but a different timeline. The problem with Genesis was they ruined everything in the trailer, like with John Connor being a Terminator.
You mean in the poster even? They have like a
but the poster came out after the trailer. The first poster didn't have that. Like the first trailer, I'm like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. And then the second trailer, they reveal that John Connor's a bad guy, and it's just like, that would have been something that you should have stayed for the movie.
Even the director himself was like, I don't understand why they spoiled that.
Yeah. And the thing about that movie, like, it's not a terrible movie. It has some of the same problems with like floppy CGI and everything like that. Like, there's a part where like the Terminator gets thrown from the truck and then he like bounces, but like he's made out of metal and he wouldn't flop around like a rubber ball. Like, yeah, you might bounce once and then slide, but not like a super ball bouncing down the freeway. So like there's some weird stuff with that. And as much as I love Emilia Clarke, she's not the best actress.
I think she's better than Nick Stahl and Claire Danes.
Yeah. I don't think she's as
But I also hate.
multi-dimensional
I
as
don't
other
like
actresses.
Jai Courtney. Jai Courtney's awful.
He was alright. He wasn't the best.
He's not good. Name one thing he's good in.
Spartacus.
No. But the problem with the thing like Spartacus like that, it's the same thing with like Clash of the Titans that we said, where like you have and not to go off of go after
Jai Courtney.
no, not Jai Courtney, Sam Worthington. So for listeners of the show, I've gone off on Sam Worthington several times.
Is this why you picked
times,
Terminator? So you can talk about Terminator Salvation and just like shit on him?
Oh no, I didn't
just so
even. I
you can talk
forgot
about
that he's
Sam
in that. But
Worthington.
no, the problem with Sam Worthington. The problem with Sam Worthington.
Here we go
is
again.
He's a terrible actor, and he cannot stick to he cannot stick to an accent to save his life. And so a lot of times, what happens with those type of actors from Australia or England or really anything that has an accent that's not American, they'll go and do something like Spartacus or Sam Worthington did Clash of Titans, where it's just like they just use their regular accent. But if they have to do an American accent, they slip in and out of it like it's nothing. And it drives me crazy. And Jai Courtney's that same way. Like he's just not a good actor, and he's been given way too many opportunities to take franchises like Terminator and Die Hard. And I'm done with it.
So
Jai
I
Courtney.
think the problem with Genesis is that I've never seen it.
No, don't. It's not worth it.
So I've heard.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not the worst Terminator film, but it is not a good Terminator film.
So which one is the worst Terminator film?
The worst Terminator film is
Definitely
this one.
this one.
T3. All right, let's move into Dark Fate.
2019 Terminator Dark Fate. I've got a summary for us here. This one's from Carl Scrow. Sarah Connor and a hybrid cyborg human must protect a young girl from a newly modified liquid Terminator from the future.
Yep.
Yeah, basically the same story.
Yep. I'm just gonna say this right up front. I think this is the best Terminator movie since T2. It is no T2, but it is the best one since.
I mean, considering what else has been put out, yes, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, like it's better than Terminator Salvation. It's better than T3. It's definitely better than Genesis. I've seen this twice already. I went and saw it opening weekend. Katrina was out of town, so I went and watched it, and then I watched it again once we decided to cover it for the podcast. And I enjoyed it actually even more the second time. But I'm ready to talk about it. What do you guys think? What are some highlights for you guys?
So I did enjoy watching the movie. There were problems with it for me.
Oh, there are definitely some issues with it. The way I looked at it, and we'll get to Alex in a second, is I almost look at it, it was like it was two movies. It was like pre-Arnold being involved in the movie and then post-Arnold.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
once he's in the mix, it's a drastically different movie.
Yeah. I just Well, what Alex? What'd you think?
I told Mike lately briefly about this, but I would never be excited for a Terminator movie ever again. I've now like accepted that 1 and 2 is my movies, and any future movies that come out, I will just appreciate. I don't hate this movie, but I do have a lot of things I don't like about it. I was planning to watch it for a third time just to support it, but I just couldn't. I like rather do something else.
Well, if it makes you feel better, we'll probably never get another Terminator
yeah.
movie because this one is expected to lose like over $100 million.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Ouch.
Yeah, this one was very expensive, and it's not doing very well.
I thought it was like cool concepts. It's just there's too many plot holes.
There were some certain things I liked. So the first thing is like I think this is a better version of a liquid Terminator over a metal body.
Most
Yeah.
definitely.
I think they did
And
some
they can act code
independent from each other, and I like what they did. Like there's certain things I really liked about it. Also, like I liked that this Terminator played by Gabriel Luna was he's the most sophisticated Terminator. He actually had a personality as a Terminator. Like so far every Terminator we've had is just like
Robert
a drone.
Patrick had personality when he's like infiltrating. He's so charismatic as a Terminator.
Yeah, he has his moments of being charismatic, but he also still kind of looked cold. Where this one, like, he put on like different characters with each person he was interacting with. So like when he first arrived and he sees the woman doing the clothing, he's just like, "Hola, cómo estás?" He kind of smiles and he's got some pep. And then when he sees the dad, he's like, he doesn't know anything about Danny, so he's trying to be like, he kind of has that respectful tone.
Ramos.
And then he gets the name, and then like when he's going to the border patrol, he just acts like a soldier and everything, and then he's like, my whole body's a weapon kind of thing. Like they're like, save it for the girls. And then when he like sees the cop after the massacre that he causes, he's like, I've prayed more in 5 minutes than I ever prayed in my whole life. Like there's a lot more to it than we've seen in most of the Terminator movies, with the exception of Robert Patrick.
That is all pre-programmed stuff, or do you think his AI is strong enough that he can pick that all up?
I think it's just his programming allowing him to infiltrate. So like he has good situational awareness kind of thing.
I like it. I'll accept those answers.
Yeah, I liked that. I think he was very good.
One more thing I need explained. This isn't specifically to this Terminator, but why does the Terminator need to touch someone to copy them?
Isn't that?
Yeah, that's not really explained. And I don't remember the Terminator touching Clara Danes in 3.
Didn't he throw her?
Did she?
Didn't she throw her? I
don't remember. I was like, as soon as I saw, and there was no real reason for her to impersonate her at the end. Like she could have just gone on his. I don't know, but yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like you think they would just be able to scan them.
Yeah,
and,
that's
Well,
what
in Terminator 2, the only reason why I think that they need contact, I don't know. Well, because T-1000, the T-1000 has to. I think they may have overlooked this part, but the T-1000, how he like investigates is with his hands. So if you see him like when he touches the computer, he's like sliding his hand. That's how he does it. I think they may have overlooked it because that's just how maybe the T-1000's liquid metal is the same as the Rev 9. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but that's how
maybe. But I mean, you don't have to follow the same rules that you had to for T2 and T3 because this is a different AI that caused it. So it's not Skynet, it is Legion. Yeah. And it's a whole different entity that did it. So you don't have to necessarily follow the exact same rules. Now, one question I have is, and it never really made sense going all the way back to T2, is they explained in the first Terminator film that organic material is what can travel back in time. So, and it works with the whole premise of the movie. So they have to cover the cybernetic organism in human flesh and everything, so the time travel actually works. How do these liquid Terminators go back in time?
I'm assuming that it's very flesh-like.
Maybe.
Because
so my other question...
Todd was with his wife. Remember in T2, the guy with the milk was with his wife, and he didn't notice anything, and he got stabbed in the throat. So, like, they must, like, if you touch them, they can't be, like, liquid cold. Otherwise, like, oh, you're clearly a Terminator.
Right, which I'll buy that. But still, like, within the rules, they say it has to be organic material. So that doesn't really make sense, but whatever, we'll buy it. So my question is, in one movie, or I guess 2 movies, they technically send a human back, and the rest of them, they send, like, a robot back. And they're taking robot and putting him in human skin. Why don't they take future weapons back and like put him in like a skin bag?
I had this argument
Like a
with
skin
Alex before.
backpack.
That's exactly what I was talking about with Alex.
Like
'Cause
take
they
a
sent-
dead animal or something
They
and
sent
put
Grace
weapons.
back with no plan. Her plan was to run away.
So Katrina came out and looked at me. She was like, "Okay, Bear Grylls, that's exactly right. Bear Grylls found a dead sheep and turned it into a backpack.
Oh my God. I mean, I would have been fine with that.
Like that would make so much sense.
Just bring back a
Especially
plasma
in
weapon.
this movie, at the beginning of the movie, you see like lasers taking out Terminators in one hit. Bring back one of those things
Yeah,
and wrap
exactly.
it in skin.
That's so morbid. I
Because
guess.
it just seemed like she had
But you're
no
dealing with the
idea how
fate
to
of
kill a
humanity.
Terminator.
Alex, we dropped a nuclear bomb on Japan, changing their DNA forever. Forever. We're now talking about the fate of all humanity. I think it's okay to wrap a laser gun in in some skin to get it through, so we can save all of humanity.
The only thing that I can think of is that they don't want to change it. It's like, so like, let's say if that gun, like it could have like a butterfly effect where like if they bring back a plasma rifle and then they do destroy the Terminator, but like they discover the plasma
Like
rifle.
T1 going into T2 because the arm survives.
Yeah.
Okay, destroy the weapon after you kill the Terminator with the plasma gun.
Well, what about Grace? Like, does that not mess up the future?
Exactly. And like she had some x-rays done and some pictures taken. They're like, how is she even
How she's-
surviving
yeah.
with that? So yeah, we should talk about Grace. I kind of like that evolution.
To augment?
Yeah, like it makes sense that you would do that. Like, hey, we need to find a way to fight Terminators. And I also really liked that she, kind of got sick if she went too hard. Like it makes sense where it's like, you either defeat a Terminator in a few minutes or you don't. So I kind of like that she was really designed for short bursts, and in those short bursts, she can go toe to toe.
I like
So
it.
I thought that was pretty cool.
I think it's a good concept if it was like, if it was just a solo movie of her. Like you definitely, because like if you have like a protagonist that's super strong, it becomes hard to sympathize for that protagonist.
Right.
That's why they had like Kyle Reese, which is like a human versus a machine. The T-800 is clearly inferior to the T-1000, and she's like an enhanced thing. But then like we also
I agree.
had
You do kind of undercut her arc by having Arnold come in
Yeah.
later. I do think this movie got way better once Arnold got in it.
I love Arnold in this movie.
And like the special effects scenes that he's in look better than the beginning. Like the beginning of the movie when the Terminator goes and attacks them at the auto factory. Like when he's disguised as the father and they shoot him, like it looks really bad when the father's getting shot. And then he does like some parkour through the factory and it looks super cartoony.
yeah.
Like the beginning of the movies, the special effects were so, but I think they looked incredible towards the end of the movie. Once Arnold, like I thought the plane sequence was great. I liked I loved the scene where as they were going through the border patrol. I
The
really liked the
chase
latter half of the movie. I
sequence.
thought the action scenes were great.
chase sequence.
The chase scene was okay.
I think it's like is really, I find it really, really good. And then the introduction of Sarah Connor as she comes in with that truck and shoots him. Oh, that was the
she
best.
Such a
she
payoff.
looked great, and her action like she trained really hard, and like when she comes out with like the auto shotgun and then like drops it and then like just in one smooth motion pulls like the rocket launcher up. I thought that was great, but her acting was not good.
It
was not-
okay. It was okay for Sarah Connor.
Right, and she's never been a great actress, but like that scene where they're in the hotel and she's like, it was just some weird stuff that she did with her face where she was like,
Clenching her jaw. Or
yeah, clenching her jaw. But she says this thing like, I go home and I drink until I black out. Is that enough of a resume for you? Like she does like these weird like big eyes and everything. Like she made some interesting choices. Like her look was great, and the way she held herself in the action, I thought was great.
I think they're just trying to show that she's a little crazy.
Yeah, but I don't think the acting was good. And I think the other issue with this is, and I kind of see why they did it, but I think this movie would have been more successful was PG-13 because the biggest movie-going audience are teenagers.
Originally, it was
And
filmed
they
as
can't go see
PG-13
this movie.
actually, and then they decided.
Was that?
Originally, it was filmed as PG-13, and then they decided to do it rated R.
And I think they did that because they thought like fans of Terminator would not go see it if it was PG-13, but clearly they didn't go and see it regardless.
Right.
And I think so. You got to do what's right to make the money. Like it sucks because when you're making a movie, there's an artistic standpoint where hey, you want to make the movie you want to make, but then
Really?
there's also
I-
like you got to
I
make
don't
money.
notice much of it. It's just more F-bombs, to be honest.
Yeah, that's my point. Is they could have got this down to a PG-13 with very little editing by just getting rid of some of the F-bombs.
They probably would have had to show less killing.
There was a
obviously.
little bit. There was a little bit of blood in the in the border patrol scene.
Yeah.
For the most part, there wasn't that much blood. I have another question about this. So we know that Grace can get stabbed because we see it towards the end of the movie. So the whole time he's fighting her, he's only just using his arms as spikes. But when he's fighting the border patrol
is
guys,
using his whole body.
which I thought was cool, like they all kind of like dogpile on him, and he's just like spiky, like all through his body. Why didn't he do that with Grace
I don't remember
At
a
which
scene
point?
when he could.
at any point in the movie?
I don't remember when.
Like, why not just use spikes all over his body? Like, as she's like diving over him or whatever, just like spikes. Like, she'll grab his arm. Like, there's points where she would grab the spike to block it. Why not have like a spike just shoot out of that into her hand?
I get your point.
Like, he could have done that a lot more.
Really remember.
I did like the other thing when like Grace is telling Danny, she's like, I'm gonna go to the police station. He goes, well, one, don't do that, he'll find you, but two, you put 100 cops in front of a Terminator, all you end up with is 100 dead cops. And then they do that at the border patrol. Then it's like, yeah, no, Terminator's pretty goddamn gnarly.
Also, why did they just give him a chopper?
You don't know that they actually did. They probably like, well, we've got one, where do you want to go? And maybe they were gonna have a pilot and he just took it.
I guess.
I did like what did you guys think about Arnold's being aged up, his rationale for that?
I was okay with it.
I was okay with it
I
as
am
well.
I don't know how I feel about the AI though. The reason.
I'm for that. Like,
No.
you're wrong,
No,
Alex.
no, I'll tell you why. Wait, go ahead. Tell me your reason why.
So nobody cared about an aged up Terminator in Genesis, and he had a little bit of a personality, and he developed like
I
a
can already
protective,
tell you
almost
why
father-like thing.
that works out, because he was reprogrammed.
But his whole point is that he's an infiltrator,
so-
and he's supposed to design. And shut up, you asked me to explain it. In T2, that this is a direct sequel to, that James Cameron signed off on everything on it. He starts to change how he interacts. Like, he's killing humans and whatnot just to fulfill the mission. But John Connor like tells him, like, no, dude, there's got to be a different way to do this.
Yeah.
And he starts picking up his slang, and he starts to have like there's a relationship between him and John Connor. Like, you can see that they are designed to do that.
Because he's part. That's his alliance. You know, he is an infiltrator model. So obviously, yes, he is going to learn to become better at adapting. But so you're telling me, so when Kyle Reese is like, he can't be bargained with, he can't be reasoned with, but if you wait long enough, he'll go ahead and grow remorse.
Well, no, but you got to look at it this way, you jackass. He explains it. He's like waiting for Judgment Day to happen, and then Judgment Day doesn't happen, and he fulfilled his mission. And
in Terminator 2,
so
they ask him. Wait, let me retort. In Terminator 2, they
Retort?
they ask him.
Rebuttal? You want a rebuttal?
They ask him. Well, so if you fail the mission, what would happen? He would say, "I will cease to exist. There is no point in me to function." So he would essentially just turn off.
Yeah, but this one he wasn't a T100. He was a slightly different model.
He was a T800, and he is a T800 in this one.
Or no, they called him something else. When you saw his thing, he was like a T801 or something like that.
No, it's Model 101.
No, he was slightly different. But no, it makes sense. And this is how he was programmed from the Resistance. The Resistance, that makes sense. But Skynet would not care if a Terminator stuck around, because it could theoretically make Skynet happen faster. But because he never got any things, he can't self-destruct. He's not allowed to self-destroy or self-terminate. And so he goes and finds he just goes on, and then he eventually sees.
The Terminator
I think
Sarah
it makes
Chronicles do this way better. They had a Terminator that was actually able to fulfill its mission, and it just powered off and stayed in hibernation mode until it got either orders or something, which makes sense. And that way,
Yeah, but the Sarah Connor Chronicles is not part of the movie.
but it's more
Chronologically.
logical for a mission for the.
I buy this. It makes enough sense in that he's still not a perfect human. Like, he doesn't have a sexual relationship with that woman, but he blends in enough in Texas. I don't necessarily think he would be able to pull that off in a lot of America. Like, in California, people would be like, dude, this guy's weird. But in Texas, where people are all macho and everything, and I think it works. and men's
what
men.
happened is that
I
if
think you
can-
Genesis
He has a
didn't
great
come
sense of
out,
humor.
they would have done a similar thing where he was reprogrammed and sent back in time. But because it happened in Genesis, we got this version. And
I think this makes just as much sense. And what I like about it, like, you know, I thought it was kind of funny because they pick like an almost artistic, like it's still something that you have to be like good with your hands, and there's a physical aspect of it, but there's also an artistic part of being in drapes. And like when they were like waiting for the guy from the
He's
army,
talking about the kid one.
and he's talking about, he goes, there was a man who came to do some drapes for his daughter's room, and he wanted solid colored drapes, and I said, don't do it. And everything. He starts like, it's not just about color, it's about the way the fabric falls and everything. And for a little girl's room, you should do butterflies or stripes. Like, I thought that was really funny. Like,
he's
the humor
great.
in this was way better.
He's definitely funny. Like he tells them like, you know, she likes me because I'm funny and stuff like that. It's all the way he delivers it.
Because I changed diaper, I'm efficient. I'm a good listener, and I change diapers without complaining. Like, I thought that was great. And I think he acknowledged that it only works if he finds the right person to partner up with. So I don't think he's like 100%, like most people would probably find him off-putting, but the fact that he has somebody who's playing house with him, it legitimizes him. So I think he still recognizes like, hey, I need to infiltrate, and these are things that I need. I don't think he would pass as human if he didn't have a wife. So I don't think he's perfect. Like, he's not just like a human passing, like he's barely passing.
Yeah, I can see your point. I just don't know how I feel about him growing remorse, kind of. You know what I mean? Because he kept texting Sarah.
Yeah, for John.
Yeah.
I liked that though, but also like when he dies at the end, you know, for John as he dies, and I enjoyed it. I can see why people like you guys just can't fucking like realize that this is a sci-fi film.
He has no
about
heart.
robots from the future. Like, come on.
It's not. I don't feel. In Terminator 2, it's just so gut-wrenching because we do see him change. We see that progression. And
right. So why is it that you can believe it in the previous movie that you see the change? But then because
that's his purpose, to protect his. Well, he's taking the commands from John.
But he still changes. He goes and changes what he would normally do
he was
to make
basically
John
commanded
happy.
to change.
Yeah.
But still, he's capable of that change, and he's not getting any orders. And I can see Skynet not having a just shut down thing, like just because the TV show did it. Like, it's fine. We're not going to agree with it. You guys are wrong. I'm right.
So what happens if Skynet kills all the humans? Does it get remorseful afterwards?
No, it doesn't. The difference is,
I mean, I
the
guess it
Skynet
does.
never happened.
Like, essentially, what you're saying is that
you gotta
there
look at
could
it
be
this way.
rogue Terminators. Like, once they kill a human in the future, if they killed a human and they didn't, and Skynet won.
Well, no, there's a difference than that though, because they're still getting new orders.
And
this is a robot that went idle and isn't getting new things. So his programming allows him to adapt and change. And he wasn't getting, like, he realized the future, like, so he even explains it to the Terminator. So at one point, the Terminator at the end, the bad Terminator goes, you and I were designed for the same purpose. And he goes, I came from a future like that never happened. So he's recognizing that humans have a way of moving on, and that, you know, things change and the purpose of things can change because he still exists in a world that he never would have existed in. So I think that's the rationale too.
I feel like it just makes it not as menacing for the Terminators. Like, why it works so great, is because like he is a Terminator on our side, and he's very machine-like, and then he becomes like a father figure.
But he still is that
to
way.
him.
Like, he is a very.
This one is he kills
Once
John
again, he's
Connor.
barely
He
passing
didn't
as
know
human.
what to do. He felt bored, so he wandered
Over the course of like 30
so
years,
he wandered
though,
the
changed,
earth,
and he's
and then
barely
found
fitting in.
purpose in life, and then
Right.
it's so soap opera. Like,
Well, no, it's not even that. Like, you're choosing to misread at that point. He explains it perfectly in that he goes, my job is to infiltrate and fit in. So he did the things that he felt like he needed to do to fit in, and then having Mateo, that woman's son, in his life, and basically to fit in until new orders came.
He says
he was protecting.
He tells Sarah, "I understand why you because you don't have
he says
purpose
that.
in life until I found my
Right, but
purpose
he says that,
in life."
Right, because he says he found his purpose. You're choosing to not fit in. He says he did what he was designed to do, go and infiltrate until further orders. And then he says once he had the son and he realized, like, he felt like part of his cover story
the thing
is
is,
like
he
that is
didn't
his
say
family.
to
And so
infiltrate
he
till he has
realizes,
further orders. They never
Right.
said that. He said that
no, but that's
once
the
he killed John,
but
he didn't
flat out
receive
says
any
once
orders,
he figured,
and then he just
right, he
wandered.
didn't receive any orders, so he went to do what he was designed to do and infiltrate, and then he finds this family, and then he decides, hey, I need to, take care of this family as a way to be,
Like, it's different
in
if you-
disguise, and then he gets.
I don't think we're gonna agree.
It's
here,
different
guys.
That's exactly what
they
he
explain
says. Just because you feel like
Skynet-
something stupid, you don't get to dismiss
if he
what
says
he
like,
says.
"Oh, Skynet told me like, yeah, I was trying. I'm also to help the resistance, to help push the Skynet or something like that. So I've done like these
He
jobs
probably would
or
have at some
something."
point, but his programming.
But
can
they don't
change.
say that, so
They
we
say
can't.
in
If you, I
T2
can't assume it. Then why can you assume it?
Because they flat out say that his programming, he flat out says his programming taught him to change, that he's designed to change and learn more and be able to infiltrate. So he designed.
But why
the
is
cover
he
story, and then
infiltrating if he's
he
not
said-
receiving any
He
orders?
explains it because he's told that's what he was supposed
He
to do.
doesn't. He says he
says
doesn't get any
yes, He
orders.
flat out says it. Just because you think it's stupid, you don't get to pick and choose what he says.
I'm not picking and choosing.
He
I've
flat
watched
out
this
says
movie
that
so many
he-
times. I watched it twice.
Yeah, I've watched it multiple times too. It makes sense. You just because you don't like it doesn't mean you don't get to take
even,
what he
like,
says
watched-
at face value.
Like I.
I'm
I
sorry,
guess
but
we're
I
gonna
think
have
the
to watch it
Terminator,
again on Blu-ray.
I think the Terminator knows more about his programming than you, Alex.
Terminator.
So anyway,
Sarah Connor.
let's get it. What did you guys think about the action in this movie?
I liked it. I thought it was like the best part of the movie, the action.
Yeah, Katrina really liked it too. She's like, I don't normally like action movies all that much. Like, I'll go and see them, but she really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, all
She
the
thought it
grace
was
fights
fun.
were actually really cool.
The only thing I thought was a little weird was like how effective that chain was at the end. That chain was like way too effective at fighting Terminators.
Just slicing.
I liked it. Well, it was
I
just
really-
against the liquid metal.
The liquid part, yeah, but still, like it was like super effective. I really liked
Just
the
like Pokemon.
I actually really liked the anti-gravity scene in the plane. I thought they did a pretty good job with that. I liked how Arnold, like a couple different, like when Arnold like pins him to the thing and then the liquid metal comes off and then he shoots a grenade at it. I thought it was great. Like I really liked the action in this film.
Apparently,
Same.
like how it was directed, he had the action scenes planned out in his head, and then he plotted the story to fit it. Kind of like how Christopher McQuarrie does it.
Almost every action movie is set up that way.
Hmm.
Like pretty much all of them are set up that way.
Action
Action scenes
scenes.
first, and then the story.
Yeah, a lot of them are done that way. And now, but keep in mind, this is only his second movie. He did this and Deadpool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, he's going to try what worked for him in the first movie that he did. That was, at one point, the highest rated grossing rated R film until, just a couple weeks ago. So,
Joker.
yeah. I mean, what else? Was there anything else that you guys want to talk about before we start wrapping this up?
No, I just want to reiterate they sent Grace back without any weapons and no plan.
Yeah, she had no idea, and that was the other thing that was a little weird. Like, I liked Grace quite a bit. Like I said, I liked the idea of having these augmented humans, but they sent her back, and Sarah Connor kind of says along these lines, like, "There's cameras everywhere, there's phones, and like you're out of your element." But then at one point, she like takes the phone from Sarah Connor. She's like, "What are you doing? Future shit," and it's like. Does she understand this stuff or does she not?
I think she knows what she can do. I don't think she knows how.
Or
does it.
more just like she doesn't
Right.
understand like the society. Like I think she like, oh, this is
But
technology.
she grew up in this society.
Yeah, because it's only 2042, right? When she came
Yeah.
from?
And so, and they go and visit her at the end of the movie. Like, they don't, like, they go and peep on her at the park.
Which
Is that parallel to Sarah Connor?
creepy.
Yeah. So it's like, she lived in this society, so she would kind of know. And that being said, like, they still work on camera at the place where all the people who wanted to cross the border were.
Yeah.
They still got to get, so Sarah Connor still didn't, keep her out of danger by keeping her away from cameras. And Arnold even calls her out on that too. Like, she's like, "You've been tracking me." He goes, "If you're going to keep your phone in a bag, keep it in a bag." Like,
Yeah.
so Sarah Connor wasn't perfect at that
How did you
either.
guys feel about the quote unquote plot twist getting where it's like, oh, you're not actually the womb. It's not about
It's funny.
Oh, yeah.
I like
I
that.
saw that coming.
I saw that coming as well. I liked like when Katrina saw it with me yesterday. I looked at her. I'm like, Sarah Connor's a sexist. Because like the whole movie is just it's like it's your womb. You're gonna give birth to the man who can do this. Like, you know, she just assumed that women can't lead a rebellion.
I just wanted to say I hate Danny with the braids.
Yeah, I didn't like that all that much either. It's kind of funny. Like, well, Double D, you speak Spanish, so I'm sure you noticed this. I
They
picked
were
up
completely off on the subtitles.
Yeah, a lot of it was like Katrina speaks Spanish a little bit, well, much better than I do. But there was a couple points like she said, like one of them was like "what the hell," but it actually is like "what the fuck, white woman."
Yeah, it's not,
And then like the one that I noticed was at the beginning when she's telling the dad like don't forget to go to the doctor, and she's supposed to go at noon. So the thing she says, she goes at noon, but the subtitle says don't forget. Like like
yeah, she says midday,
right?
Half day, but yeah, it just says don't forget to go. It was dumb. I was laughing at him. He was like, "What are you laughing at?"
Yeah, but like Katrina, one of the things Katrina said was her performance in Spanish was a lot better than her performance in English at parts.
Yeah, her
like,
Spanish is really good.
Well, she's like, I think she's like actually like a legit Spanish actor.
Yeah, no, she's actually from Mexico. But so like the way she held herself and her personality in Spanish, she was better in that. I think.
Yeah, she's
not
more
to
fierce.
say she was bad, like, but I do think she did really well. And like when you change the words and like what they're actually saying, it kind of takes away the meaning and everything. So when you're swearing already, why can't you like, especially with like how like they call out them being white, like I wish you weren't so white when they're with all the the people waiting to get across the border, and then with her uncle who's a coyote, it was like I don't normally deal with green guys. Like they had no problem calling out the race. Like why not do the like that line? Why couldn't it stay like what the fuck, white woman?
Yeah, and if they're gonna say it in Spanish that way, why not actually subtitle it that way?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, overall, I really liked this movie. I enjoyed it. I liked it enough to go see it twice, and we're not going to get another Terminator movie at this point, or at least not for a while. Maybe we'll get another TV show. I think this one, I think it tried too hard to go for the Terminator fan base, but we've been burned by Genesis and Salvation and Terminator 3.
I was talking to my friend about this, how because we're both huge Terminator fans, but how interesting would have or cool how it would have been if like the Legion was just completely different than Skynet.
Right, and I do appreciate that the Terminators were a different design, like the endoskeleton, like is different. Like I actually thought that, like I like that the Terminators are a little bit more of like a darker black gunmetal, like a charcoal color versus like the titanium kind of color.
It makes more sense too if they're infiltrating.
Right. Well, I really liked the look. I thought this Terminator was a really cool looking Terminator. Like even just the metal body.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. And the skull missing.
Yeah, like the back of the skull. Yeah, because you don't really need it because it's a robot.
Right.
But yeah, no, I really liked the designs of everything.
How'd you feel about the fight between Arnold and the new Terminator?
I thought it was cool. Like I thought that I liked that Arnold knew what his limitations were. I really liked that part when he had him pinned against the wall in the airplane. And then like he kept just punching him and punching him and punching him, and then the liquid Terminator just stuck to it. And then when he pulled back just his fist because it ripped off all the skin.
Right.
I even liked they did something similar towards the beginning of the movie when she was just beating the shit out of him with the sledgehammer. He does the same thing where his head sticks to it, and then as she picks up the hammer, he comes up with it. I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then how'd you guys feel about the baseline of killing John Connor?
I was for it.
I liked it. I actually liked it.
I thought the de-aging on Sarah it's not as good as the Marvel de-aging, but I thought the de-aging of her and Arnold were pretty solid. It was a little weird with Edward Furlong.
I thought it was amazing on Edward Furlong. I was like, holy shit.
He looked a little bit more cartoony than the other two did, but there's a lot less reference footage for him.
Yeah, and also it was like a whole body shot, not just his face like they did with Sarah.
Yeah. But I thought that was kind of cool, and
it looked really good. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked good. It's definitely better than like the de-aging in Aquaman.
Oh, yeah.
She's not
that
good
movie
there.
Sucked. And I know Alex liked it, but he likes shitty movies.
Sam Worthington?
Sam Worthington. Fucking Sam Worthington. He's not even that tall.
Why do you always go to that?
I don't know. I just don't like Sam Worthington.
I love you, Arnold.
Arnold's was great. Like I said, I thought this was almost like two movies, like pre-Arnold, post-Arnold. But Arnold was great in this movie, and I think it was a good send-off because I doubt we'd get him in another movie.
I even feel like even if
he's
there
getting
was
too old.
another one, he even says he won't be back. Like I felt like that was just like like directly towards us. Like,
Yeah.
Retirement.
And I think this was a good way for him to go out.
Yeah.
Ba-dum-dum-ba-dum.
I am interested to learn more about Legion, just because it's a different timeline, right? But
Right.
I guess we'll never get that.
No, maybe we'll get a TV show down the line, but yeah, we're not going to get a movie. All right, well, I guess we just should give it the should it have been made or did it make a difference or whatever we do. I
I liked
definitely
it.
think
It
this
was better than T3.
it's definitely better than 3. Like I said at the top, this is the best Terminator movie since T2, but it is no T2.
No. Alex?
I don't like. Yeah, no. Like I said earlier, it's for me. It's the definitive 1 and 2, and then all these other ones are just fan fiction.
Well, this one was actually written by Tim Miller and James Cameron, so I don't think you get to say it's fan fiction.
I don't know what you're
It's
talking
fan
about.
fiction.
Because James Cameron was involved.
Apparently,
heavily.
he
He
had like
denies it.
arguments with Tim Miller, which is pretty funny that like things keep getting leaked.
I think you just want to hate it and you don't want to admit that James Cameron was part of this.
There were
You
6
bitch.
writers, so he didn't only write it.
No, they all end up going through multiple rewrites. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I would watch it again. I might actually buy this one. I actually liked it enough that I may buy it.
I'll probably buy it next Black Friday when it's probably like $8.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Check out everything that's MDXpods related at MDXpods.com, on Twitter and Instagram at MDXpods, on Facebook.com/MDXpods. If you want to support the show, you can go to Patreon.com/MDXpods. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, Ruin My Childhood is back. We just did an episode on Hook. And we're going to be doing an episode on Darkwing Duck since it's on Disney Plus pretty soon. Let's Get Dangerous, and it's going to be great. And yeah, the next episode of this, we're going to be covering Charlie's Angels. Double D and Alex may or may not be on that one because they're at their
We'll
busy
see.
time of work. We'll see.
Yep.
But for sure, me and Kat will be covering Charlie's Angels on the next episode of Remake Rewind. Thanks for listening.
We'll be back.
Bye.